Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the NASCAR 1-Up Retro Cup Series. We are at round number 26 of 40, and we're at the beautiful Brands Hatch Circuit in the United Kingdom for the running of the British Grand Prix. And alongside me for today's race is Ben McDonnell. So let's get this discussion straight into it, talking about strategy, because that's going to be the big factor in deciding who wins this race. You can easily make it on 2 stops here, but the question is, when are you going to make those stops, and can you try and score an undercut on drivers you're racing to get an edge moving forward?
Yeah, it all depends on where you line up in the field and how many spots you make up or lose. It's going to be a very interesting strategy game, to say the least.
With a mix of high-speed straights and low-speed corners, you will want some from low drag down the straights, but high downforce in the corners to try and make it around here in one piece. Which is going to be more important, do you think, the speed on the straights or the downforce in the corners?
Oh, I think the corners matter more because if you can get a good run off the corner, then you'll have a better time going through the straights.
Well said, and qualifying took place the other day, and we can give you the full starting lineup for today's race, with Bobo Jones getting his 4th pole of the season in this race. He leads all drivers with 4 pole positions this season, and he's got Zachary Fitzwater alongside him, with Andres Molina, the road course ringer, starting up in the front like he always does on these road courses in 5th position. And we have 3 drivers making their series debuts: Keon Daly, Christian Vargas, and Eric Monaco making their series debuts in this race. They will be starting 8th, 19th, and 24th, respectively. And with that being said, the field is lined up. We're ready to go racing, and we'll take you to the green flag as soon as the cars are lined up and ready to roll. And the pace car is already on pit road, leaving us in the hands of Bobo Jones and Zachary Fitzwater, headed down into the Brabham Straight. We're coming into the final corner down the long front straightaway. The green flag is out, and the British Grand Prix is underway, with Bobo Jones leading Zachary Fitzwater and Jordan Presto and the whole rest of the field down into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time.
All right, let's see how these drivers react to this road course overseas, not in America.
Absolutely, and going into Druids for the first time, Bobo Jones gets the edge, but here comes Jordan Presto on the inside. They're coming out of Druids towards the Graham Hill Bend, and Presto's actually going to get the edge over Zachary Fitzwater, so he will take 2nd place as Bobo Jones takes the lead, headed down the Cooper Straight.
Yeah, great driving by everybody so far, keeping it clean as we see the 13 get away.
Absolutely, through Surtees they go, and down towards the Pilgrims Drop they go, with Jordan Presto in 2nd place, leading Zachary Fitzwater, but still behind Bobo Jones as they head into Hawthorne Bend and through to the Derek Minter Straight, and through the corner they go. It's pretty single file for the first 6 cars, but as they go through Westfield, it's going to be more difficult to try and nose out, as Keon Daly actually makes a move on Jack Porkins. That is for 8th.
Yeah, great driving by the 79. Doing a great job so far.
His first start making everybody proud in his Tim Hortons Dodge pit paddock right now. And as they head through Sterling's, they head down the long Clearway Straight and head in towards Clark Curve to finish off the lap. And coming through the final corner, it'll be Bobo Jones leading the way ahead of Presto, Fitzwater, Brandon Beal, and it looks like Andres Molina will round out the top 5 as we complete lap number 1 at speed.
Great racing by everybody so far, keeping it clean, and everybody's doing a great job of racing alongside people at a road course. Typically, that's a pretty hard thing to do, but everybody here seems like they are able to do so.
And as of now, of course, Bobo Jones holds the fastest lap, but we're only on lap 2, so prepare for that to change a lot in this race. And this is the first race with this new local yellow rule in place. We're doing away with full course cautions on the road courses for the time being to help reduce race distance. So what will happen instead is there will be, if an accident were to occur, there will be double waved yellows at the end of each straight near the accident site, and all drivers will slow around that area. No overtaking will be allowed until they are past the incident area, in which case racing will resume. It's an easier way to get racing consolidated into one solid hour, and we can get great racing like this with Andres Molina fighting this 12 car for 5th.
Yeah, great driving. Typically, you don't see that 12 car up front, but today he certainly does have the speed, especially going against somebody in the 23 who has been fast pretty recently.
On the road courses especially, and with Keon Daly looking on, you can see that 12 car make a move for 5th position, and he's going to clear Andres Molina heading down the Brabham Straight, and completing lap number 2, he will cement himself into 5th position, with Keon Daly hot on their tails in 7th place. But right now, Bobo Jones holds a steady lead over Jordan Presto. As the field updates itself, we see everybody back to Alexa Lutchen in 42nd position, making their way through the field, and with Keon Daly still stalking these two for position, it looks like there's a bit of a gap now between the top 4 and this battle for 5th.
Yeah, it seems like the front 4 are actually starting to get away from each other. Obviously, the 13 leading right now. Just trying to make up a lot of time on the rest of the competitors, so when pit stops happens, he has a little bit more room for error, just in case.
Yeah, looking back at Christian Vargas, another driver making a series debut, he's having a solid run up in the top 20, racing alongside Ryan Caggiano and right behind Orper Xavier in the bright blue Sirius XM Toyota, making his way through the field. And looking back for our other debut driver, Eric Monaco in the Bass Pro Shops Chevrolet. Number 83 is holding steady in 26th place. Not too bad for a series debut. Hopefully he can make his way further up through the field as the race goes on. But so far, solid outings for all 3 of our debut drivers.
Yeah, I always love seeing new drivers in the sport, especially if they have some talent. Currently, just seeing how these guys run at the road courses, obviously they'll probably drive different at the ovals, but it's always exciting to see new faces in the sport.
Good runs for Vargas, Daly, and Monaco. But up front, it's all Bobo Jones. Remember, he won the season opening Daytona 500, but he's yet to win since. He's on a 25-race winless streak, and hopefully he can close that out here today with a resounding win in the British Grand Prix. But don't look now, because Jordan Presto is starting to close that gap. It was 0.6 of a second. Now it's down to half a second. And as they head towards Surtees once again, Bobo Jones' lead is starting to diminish.
Yeah, Presto has been lurking right behind him, trying to find the right time to hopefully make a move and be able to pass the 13 before the pit stops happen.
Remember, Jordan Presto had that harrowing crash at Brooklands last time out, where he flipped upside down numerous times in that massive melee that took out 25 cars. So he's just lucky to be running up front and making laps in this race, because a lot of people were speculating about whether or not he'd be able to race this week due to that crash at Brooklands, but he says he's doing all right, and he's proving it so far, running in the 2nd position.
Yeah, watching that race, it was very scary, but it's nice to see the 66 back in action, and especially being able to contend for this win possibly, just still right behind the 13, and possibly a chance of this win if it goes his way.
Still only lap 4 though, so anything can happen as they head down towards the Brabham Straight for one more time. Bobo Jones continues to lead, but let's see what the gap or the margin between the 2 cars is. It's closing again. It's down to under half a second now as they breeze down towards Paddock Hill Bend and down towards Druids for one more go around. But don't look now. Fitzwater's closing in. Beal is closing in. A lot of cars now are going to try and make this an interesting battle for the lead.
Yeah, I gotta play the cards right, and hopefully you catch the guy in front of you at a right time, or else you lose a bunch of momentum and possibly a lot of time to the person behind you, which can actually cost you a couple positions.
Absolutely, but Jordan Presto looks to have the car to beat right now. Even though Bobo Jones is leading, he's starting to close in the lead a little bit, as we've already got a taker on pit road, and that's the 22 of Casey Bender. This is a little early for pit stops, and it looks like he only changed his left side tires. I'm wondering if he had a flat possibly coming out of the pits there, but he's going to cycle out in 42nd place, well off the lead stretch.
Yeah, can't really tell if he has damage or not. Maybe it's a good strategy call. Possibly on a 3-stop strategy, maybe do 2 tires the next time around. But we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I don't know though. Everybody can make it on 2 pit stops, and it wouldn't make sense to try and go for 3 if you can make it on 2. Remember, at Spa, we had some people make 2-stop strategies work, and those were the drivers that ended up winning the race, with Stephen Hunter up front. But it will be interesting to see what Casey Bender can make of those new tires, as Bobo Jones continues to lead this race. He's led all 5 laps so far, but Jordan Presto is still closing in, the gap stabilizing now at about 0.4 of a second. Remember, all the top 4 running in this race right now, except for Zachary Fitzwater, they all have wins so far this season. Bobo Jones at Daytona, Jordan Presto at Pensacola, and Brandon Beal, of course, last time out at Brooklands. They're all super speedway winners, but right now they're showing their muscle on the road courses as well, with Jones leading Presto, leading Fitzwater, leading Beal as they head towards the Hawthorne Bend once more.
Typically, it's a random draw for a super speedway winner, but these guys show that they have talent elsewhere and be able to run up at front in most of these races.
Definitely, and Brandon Beal's looking to prove that his shock win at Brooklands was no fluke. He's running in 4th position right now. A big story, actually, we didn't get to in the pre-race was that Josh Drake, who Brandon Beal overtook for the victory, he announced his retirement from the sport. A shocking departure from Josh Drake, who was 15th in the points going in, but he will no longer be racing with us. It's a shame to see, because he'd been complaining about his car the last few weeks, and I guess that narrow defeat at Brooklands was just the tipping point and the end of his career here in the One Up Retro Cup Series.
Yeah, too bad he won't be able to finish out the season having a good run and possibly a chance at the playoffs. We'll just have to see how his future takes and how the rest of the season will play.
Absolutely. And we're looking from Jordan Presto briefly as we focus back in on the battle for the lead, with Jordan Presto stuck behind Bobo Jones for the time being. The gap is pretty steady at 0.5 seconds, so unless Presto can find a gap to make a move, it looks like Bobo Jones will have the lead at least until the first round of pit stops, which should be coming in about the next 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Presto and the rest of these guys are actually saving their stuff so then they can go maybe a lap later so then they can overcut the 13.
It's not wise, though. I've seen some feeder series race here. This track is quite abrasive. You really want fresh tires when you can get them. So I would suggest in about 5 laps these cars would come down pit road. Around lap 12 to 13 is when I'd make my first pit stop, because fresh tires mean so much here. And if you can get on pit road at lap 12, you can go to lap 24 on your next set of tires and then have a 6-lap sprint to the finish.
Yeah, we just gotta wait and see how the cards unfold here as we see the 13 and the 66 still leading this race.
It'll be interesting to see what strategy plays out here as they head down the front straightaway with Jones out in front, but the gap is closing. It's down to 0.4 of a second now, and Zachary Fitzwater is also making gaps gained. So aside from Casey Bender, all of the lead lap cars everybody's on the lead lap, and they're all within 20 seconds aside from Casey Bender, who pitted. But it appears Zachary Fitzwater is actually taking the point for fastest lap. It'll be interesting if he can keep that when pit stops cycle their way through. But as of right now, it's Bobo Jones leading the way, with Jordan Presto running hot on his heels in second.
Yeah, he's definitely making up a lot of ground. Maybe he wants to go for the lead before he takes his pit stop so then he can have a better entrance.
Definitely, because these cars handle best when they're out in clean air, and right now that Chevrolet of Bobo Jones is handling in the best air right now. It's a Chevy leading, a Ford leading, 2 Dodges. There are no Toyotas in the top 10. A bit shocking, because the Toyota contingent has been strengthened with the addition of Christian Vargas to their roster, but it appears the Toyotas are a bit struggling in this race. They've yet to put one in the top 10 so far, but there's still plenty of time in this race. We're only about a third of the way through.
Yeah, this is really great racing by everybody so far. 8 laps in, that's still a lot of time to possibly make moves. Obviously, there is 2 pit stops still to be happen in this race. Just got to wait and see what happens.
And as Bobo Jones leads the way, Jordan Presto starting to close that gap a little bit more. He's cut that gap in half, and as we look back at the rest of at the tail end of the field after Casey Bender made his pit stop, this is the battle for 40th between Henry Thomas and Alexa Lutchen. These two are pretty high up in the points ladder. Alexa Lutchen especially did not need a run like this, because she is on the bubble looking to make the playoffs for the first season. So it's going to be interesting to see if she can make this pass on Henry Thomas, making it one more point up.
Yeah, it's weird to see some of the front runners in the point standings not do too good. Hopefully they can rebound from this.
Although, keep in mind, one other driver who was on the bubble was Bobo Jones. He was 9th in points going into this race. He was only 34 points above the cut line. So this is going to be a very good run for him if he can lock down the most laps led bonus point as well. That's another 2 points, and if he can score a maximum of 42 points, that'll help him greatly, especially with a playoff contender like Drake no longer in the picture.
Yeah, this is going to get very interesting as we are getting very close to the end of the regular season. Hopefully everybody can have a good shot of getting into the playoffs. No real big upsets as well.
There's, of course, 4 races remaining in the regular season after this race at Brands Hatch. We have the race in Rio de Janeiro, then we have a second race at Bristol, then the throwback weekend at Darlington, and finally the race at Phoenix Raceway to close out the regular season and the playoffs, which will start right after that. But right now, it looks like we've got a battle for third position on our hands. Brandon Beal starting to make a move on Zachary Fitzwater. This is for third.
Yeah, it seemed like very single-filed out throughout this field, and now we get to finally see some action up in third place.
Definitely, because with Fitzwater running so close to the top 30 in points, he's dangerously close to making the top 30 in points, which is very important for Fitzwater because it means he'll no longer have to qualify on time for each race, and that means he can focus more on the race setups because he's been focusing on qualifying lately to help him make the show, and it's been putting him up at the front quite often. But right now, he really wants to focus on the racing, and right now, he's going to probably lose the spot to Brandon Beal. However, still a very solid run for the 59 in the 4th position.
Yeah, but these guys being side by side let the 12 catch up. Possibly doesn't look like he is going to be able to make the run on Fitzwater.
Yeah, the 12 is going to be held back a little bit, but here's the battle for the lead between Presto and Jones. Presto's starting to close up on him a little bit, and as they head down towards the Sheen's curve and down towards Sterling's, it appears that Presto is going to be able to make a move on Jones, maybe coming into Clark corner, but it's going to be really close. I don't think he's going to be able to make the move this time. No, he tucks in line behind the 13 as they head down the paddock to Brabham Straight. We can complete lap 10, and we are a third of the way through this race. Bobo Jones has led them all so far.
Yeah, it looks like it's about time. The pit window would be open to possibly make it on 2 more stops from now, as everybody is right behind the first 2 leaders. Looks like they are about to get a little bit more hectic.
Absolutely, and as they go through Druids and heading down towards the Graham Hill Bend, we saw a brief side-by-side battle between Keon Daly and Caden Atkins, but now it's Atkins ahead of the battle between Keon Daly and Jeffrey Finguy, the winner at Martinsville, and that is a battle for the 8th position, and Daly appears in his first start. He'll be able to hold off the veteran of Finguy to take over the 8th position. Good run from the 79 car.
Yeah, looking at a lot of really good performance out of the 79 so far. Definitely showing his strengths early in the running in his first ever start.
Yeah, but it's a total log jam behind them. Lane Sanders, Jack Porkins, Chris Maley, ace in the 24. Who else is back there? We've got a whole motley crew of cars back there battling for position. But right now, the battle we're focusing on is this one for the lead between Jordan Presto in the 66 in second place, trying to take the lead from Bobo Jones in the 13.
Yeah, wondering what they're going to do coming across the front stretch this time by. Wonder if there will be any takers.
Coming off the corner, it looks like they will stay out for at least one more lap. So Bobo Jones will take the flag in the lead with Jordan Presto right on his heels. So if he's going to make a move to get ahead before pit stops, he's going to have to make that move fast. I'm not sure if Jones is willing to give him much space here, but he's going to have to make a move sometime. And there, oh, here he comes, down to the inside. Down to the inside in Druids. It's Jordan Presto making a move on Bobo Jones. Will he have the momentum on the high side to clear the 13 this is going to be really close. This is going to be a side-by-side battle down towards Surtees, and it looks like Jordan Presto is going to actually take the lead on the high side.
Oh no, it doesn't look like that. The 13 right beside him. The 37 creeping up behind, maybe going to take advantage of this situation.
They're still side by side, but now Jordan Presto clears Bobo Jones, and Jordan Presto is your new leader after 11 laps have been completed. And now Brandon Beal's making a move on Bobo Jones for second. Jones dropping down the order very quickly.
Yeah, this is unexpected, especially coming down to pit stops. The 66 now has a good clean advantage over the rest of these guys.
Absolutely, and maybe Bobo Jones is just run out of tire trying to hold off Jordan Presto, but now Presto's got the lead as they head through Sterling's, and now I believe the pit window will be open this time around, and a lot of cars will be heading down pit road shortly, but it'll be interesting to see which cars stay out and try and get a point for leading a lap here. It'll be interesting to see once that happens. And yes, here they come. Jordan Presto, Brandon Beal, Bobo Jones, Zachary Fitzwater, and Andres Molina has stayed on the racetrack, so he will take the race lead, with Keon Daly and Jeffrey Finguy also staying out. It's a split strategy here, as most of the leaders head down pit road, with the exception of Andres Molina. He will lead this lap, which is a very important point for him, because he is on the outside looking in as far as the top 30 in points. But so far on pit road, it looks like everybody will be taking 4 tires and fuel in the pit lane, and it looks like Presto and Beal will be the first ones out, followed by Fitzwater and Jones, and it looks like the 12 and 2 will be following them out. But right now, these cars up here have yet to stop. That includes Ace, Maley, Finguy, Daly, and of course, Andres Molina, the race leader.
Yeah, this is a very interesting strategy, as most of the leaders went down pit road, obviously wanting to get fresh tires as early as they can while making the fuel window, or the pit stop window, as the 23 just trying to stretch it out one more lap, maybe even 2. We'll just have to see.
Definitely. With Molina out front and Daly right behind, these cars will probably come in this lap because they really don't want to be out on these tires for too long. The pace has fallen off by almost 4 seconds since the race started, so you definitely want to get these tires off as soon as possible. If these guys are running 1 minute 38s, while cars coming out of the pit road are running a minute 34s, so you definitely want to be on the pit lane soon. As you see Molina hit pit road, and it looks like Keon Daly will follow suit with Jeffrey Finguy in tow as well. I'll be watching the racetrack to see if anyone else stays on the racetrack right now to try and get an undercut off or an overcut off on this set of stops. But right now, it appears everybody's in this cycle is going to take 4 tires as well. But Henry Thomas stays on the track. He is going to try and lead a lap in this number 1. He was running 40th when the stop cycle began, so it'll be interesting to see. He's scored in 4th right now because Molina, Daly, and Maley all crossed the line before Thomas got there. So he's scored in 4th now, but he is your race leader. Be interesting to see, as he and appears Jeff Bolton also stayed out. Or maybe, I think Bolton actually pitted a lap before the cars of Jones, Presto, and them all came in. So there's Bolton in the UPS Ford. It'll be interesting to see, because it looks like he'll be your race leader once the stop cycle works its way through, because Presto is ahead of Beal, ahead of Molina, Finguy, and right now I'm trying to find Jeff Bolton. There he is. So Thomas is out front, but he's yet to stop. So once he does, that'll cycle the lead to Jeff Bolton in the 38. It's interesting strategy time for Jeff Bolton, because he was not running up at the front before this, but he decided to pit early, and that may benefit him with the lead here.
Yeah, hopefully he can keep it for a while, as he has a little bit of a gap to the rest of these guys. As it definitely shaked out, most of this field has shaked out because of that pit stops, as we're in a lap or 2 about to hit halfway. Still have 1 more pit stop to do as we see the number 1 go down pit road.
Yes, Thomas finally makes his pit stop. That will turn the lead over to Jeff Bolton in the 38, making his way down pit road on the far side of pit road. That will leave us with Jeff Bolton in the lead of this race. Remember, and he has had a spotty record of making races, so a good run today would do wonders for the UPS team of Jeff Bolton trying to make races from here on out. And it appears he's doing a pretty good job because he's got a 4.8 second lead over Jordan Presto. My only concern is, if Bolton pitted that much earlier, Presto's got fresher tires and he will eat up this lead. The question is, when will Presto catch Bolton, and will it be easy to make that pass?
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. As we saw Presto making the pass on the 13 earlier, it took a while for him to actually get around. Probably took half of the track to actually do so. So it's definitely going to be a struggle passing here, as we have seen so far today.
And we are approaching the halfway point of this race. Jeff Bolton's got a 4.8 second lead over Jordan Presto and Brandon Beal. However, that gap is beginning to shrink a little bit because Bolton's got a little bit older tires than Presto. It's only about 1 or 2 laps, but those 1 or 2 laps can make a difference, especially considering that at the end of the tire window, cars were running about 4 to 5 seconds slower per lap than they were at the start of this race.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the 66 of Presto is actually kind of catching him. Definitely less than 4 seconds, I believe.
Yeah, the gap is definitely closing. We'll see what the interval, the split time is at the line. So Jeff Bolton, he will cross the line right about now. And looking back to Jordan Presto, looking to see when he crosses the line and seeing what that split data is, he cut the lead down by 0.3 of a second in just 1 lap. So he's definitely gaining on Jeff Bolton. My question is, will he be able to catch him before the next pit stop cycle?
Well, the 38 is definitely carrying some good speed. I honestly thought it was going to be cut down even more. So great driving by the 38 of Jeff Bolton so far. Just got to hold on until his last pit stop,
which should come in about 8 laps or so, as Jordan Presto and Brandon Beal continue to make their charge towards the front. These two were leading before the stop cycle, and Jeff Bolton's contrarian strategy has put them in a bit of a bind here, because you see the lead from Bolton back to Presto. It's a pretty big gap, so it'll be interesting to see. With Finn Guy now in 4th, it will be interesting to see which cars can gain the best track position on the final cycle.
Yeah, I love strategy races. This definitely shook up the field quite a bit. Obviously, the 66 still out in front. Obviously, the 38 out in front, but on a different strategy. What if the strategy actually works for the 38?
It could, although it would require him to pit fairly early compared to his rivals, unless he can stretch this run. Maybe that's why Jordan Presto is catching him. If Bolton is saving his stuff so that he can pit with Presto and the others, that may explain why he's slowing his pace down a little bit. Because at the line, Jordan Presto just cut the lead down by a full second. So he's definitely gaining. It's now 3.5 seconds, the gap between Bolton and Presto. So it'll be interesting to see who can catch Jeff Bolton and when before the next pit stop cycle.
We also have to remember that the 38 only took 2 tires. So he's probably still kind of worn out a little bit. He basically has to make it about, I'd probably say, 3 or 4 more laps to be able to comfortably be able to make it all the way.
Actually, he only would need to make it 2 more laps in order for the window to be open for him to make it all the way. But I would really recommend, if I was the crew chief of that 38 car, I'd leave him out there for a little bit longer. That way I can pit with Jordan Presto and keep him within sight. Because looking back through the field, actually Arthur Xavier has stolen the fastest lap point away with a 1:33. So good gains by the 95, although he's deep in the pack. He's making fast time.
Yeah, very good running by the 66. Obviously, he can use up most of his stuff since he is able to make it all the way, more than the 38. Just gotta play his cards right, and hopefully he doesn't catch the 38 at a bad time, or else all of that momentum will just go away in an instant.
Absolutely, because remember, this is a very big track, and with Presto now gaining another 1.3 seconds, the gap is now 2.2. So they are closing in on Jeff Bolton at an incredible rate of speed. Look at the lead. It's down to 2.2, and it looks like, going through Druids, that Jeff Bolton's lead is shrinking at a dramatic rate.
Yeah, hopefully he can make it all the way for his possible pit stop to 38. And the 66 just got to keep on going, obviously trying to break away from the 37 right behind him and also trying to catch the 38 at the exact same time.
And as you can see, Jeff Bolton's lead has shrunk as they head into Hawthorne. Bolton ahead of Presto. The gap is shrinking every corner, it seems. But you got to keep in mind, Jeffrey Finguy and Brandon Beal behind these two. They're also closing in on Jeff Bolton. So a well-timed pit stop from either of them could put them into the thick of things. It's not just going to be the 38 and the 66. It could be a whole score of cars, depending on how does these final stops go.
Yeah, it's all about how well the pit crew executes the pit stop and what strategy do they take. Obviously, 2 tires have worked for the 38 so far. Might possibly be a 2-tire strat. Obviously, you want to be safe with 4 tires, but anything can go at this point.
My bet is that Bolton will have to take 4 tires on this stop, considering he took 2 on the first, because there's no way his right side tires can last the entire 30-lap distance. So my bet is that he'll take 4. I'm not so sure what Presto, Beal, and Finguy will do. They may take 2 to try and counter Bolton, or they may go with 4 to try and keep on the same strategy and on the fresher tires as well. But it all depends on what lap they come into the pits, because here's Bolton under immense pressure from Jordan Presto. The gap at the line was just 1 second, but now it's even closer than that.
Yeah, it's getting very close. Hopefully the 66 can get around 38 as quick as he can. It's all about timing here.
And we'll go on board briefly with Jordan Presto as we go through the corner. Jeff Bolton right in his crosshairs, going through Westfield right now. Takes a bit of a wider line through Westfield and headed down through Dingledale. But now it appears that Presto's going to try and make a move on Bolton through Sheens. I just don't think it's going to work that well for him. But out of Sheens and through Sterling's, and it appears that Bolton is losing the handle on his car just a bit, and that's going to allow Presto to get alongside him, maybe going through Clark. Here he comes.
Oh yeah, that move is going to help him get around him, as this front stretch gives you a lot of room to make up a lot of top speed and acceleration. Hopefully he can clear.
If only that was the final lap coming to the line. Look at that margin.
That would have been so interesting.
Exactly, but Jeff Bolton would have held on to win that. But Jordan Presto is now your race leader. He took the lead from Jeff Bolton, but now with less than 10 laps to go, when will these cars make their final pit stop? Because they're going to have to pit at least one more time. The question is, when will they do that? Will it be early? Will it be this lap? Or will it be later in the cycle around lap 24?
I feel like the 38 would have to pit earlier, obviously on a different schedule, pitting earlier than the rest of these guys. But the other guys, the 66, 37, and the rest of the field, they will most likely pit within the next 3 or 4 laps or so, trying to stretch out and then have fresher tires at the end.
That'll be an interesting strategy call for these guys to make. It makes me glad I'm up here in the commentary box and not on the pit boxes for these guys, because that would be a very hard decision to make. But here comes Beal working over Bolton now, and don't look now, but Jeffrey Finguy is also in the picture. And as they go through Sheens, it's going to be really close between Brandon Beal and Jeff Bolton, but it looks like Beal will be able to take second away. They're still side by side out of Sterling's, but it looks like Beal will take the position going into Clark.
Yeah, wondering if 38 will actually have to back off since he'll have to pit soon. This is going to get a little bit interesting here. Obviously slower on pace.
And now he's side by side with Jeffrey Finguy. That's the battle for third position, and right now Bolton has slipped all the way to 4th place, 2 seconds off of Jordan Presto. So Presto's got the lead in hand very nicely over Brandon Beal. He's managed to pull away a little bit. But heading through Druids, this battle for second is going to get really intense because don't look now, but the 12 has caught up, the 81 of Lane Sanders has caught up, and the 59 of Zachary Fitzwater is caught up as well. So it'll be interesting to see which cars can take advantage of this slowed up pack.
Oh yeah, I love how everybody is able to go around this track, especially the leaders. Now the 66 taking the lead, as we have a lot of racing still left to do. Obviously, we still have a pit stop for everybody, and the strategy is still up in play.
And the 12 continuing to hound Jeff Bolton's bumper. That is a battle for fourth. But Lane Sanders and Zachary Fitzwater closing in. And don't look now, but Christian Vargas, actually, in his series debut, has taken over the role of best debut driver right now. He's running in 9th in the Sirius XM Camry. So he is actually the second highest running Toyota right now because Ryan Caggiano is ahead of him. But you can see him in the background, that bright blue number 08. He's having a pretty solid run up there.
Yeah, now the 12 is stuck behind that 38. Hopefully he can get around him as quick as the other guys did. Obviously not making the move going into this corner.
And it looks like everybody's making the decision to pit now. Bolton managed to stretch it, and now he gets to pit with everybody else. Jordan Presto, Brandon Beal, and it looks like Christian Vargas will take second place because Jeffrey Finguy stayed on the racetrack. So Finguy leads now with a 3.7 second lead over Christian Vargas and Caden Atkins. However, these guys will have to pit the next time by, I'm certain, because you can't possibly make it to the end from here.
Well, it took them about 13 to 14 laps for their first pit stop, so he has a little bit of time to like stretch it out a little bit more, but obviously they don't want to do that because tires are so meaningful here.
Yes, and heading down towards the Pillage Drop and Pilgrim's Drop, and Jeffrey Finguy's got a very commanding lead, but of course these cars have all yet to make their pit stop, so these cars will probably be in on the next time round. However, it'll be interesting to see where Bolton, Presto, and Beal cycle out ahead of these guys.
Yeah, I really love how Bolton was actually able to stretch it as far as the rest of these guys were able to go to. Very impressive work by him.
That could be a race-winning move as Finguy tries to stretch it out a little more, heading through Sterling's and heading down the Clearwater Straight down towards Clark. This could be an interesting cycle as Finguy is going to try and stretch it a little bit further than his competitors, but it looks like he'll head down pit road this time.
Yeah, the smart move. Obviously want to stretch it one more lap. Definitely don't want to do two because they'll already be up to speed.
So Finguy's on pit road, Vargas is on pit road, Atkins, Molina, Daly, Ace, they're all on pit road. So it'll be interesting to see from here what strategy will play out best. Will it be these guys that pitted a little later, or will it be the guys that came in a little bit earlier than them? Because Caden Atkins actually stayed out to lead that lap, because he managed to get ahead of Finguy on the stops. However, as Finguy exits the pits, looking back, there's Jeff Bolton, and there's Jordan Presto. So, there's Jeff Bolton, and we'll see where Jeffrey Finguy cycles out. So, Bolton will be the leader, and Jeffrey Finguy is going to come out in second, but he's going to have a little bit of ground to make up on Jeff Bolton as we have 8 laps to go in this race. Will Jeffrey Finguy be able to catch Jeff Bolton in those 8 laps?
I still do not believe that 38 was actually able to stretch it and now have the lead over the 92 and the 66.
Well, remember, Jordan Presto was able to catch Jeff Bolton in 5 laps. So, my question is, if Jeffrey Finguy can catch Jeff Bolton in that correct amount of time, will Finguy be able to do the exact same thing and steal a win?
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting as we have not that much racing left to do. Obviously, not a very long race lap-wise, but still a lot of interesting things can happen during this race.
The gap between these two is growing and shrinking every lap. but it looks like Finn Guy is closing in on Jeff Bolton, trying to see if he can make a move for the lead in these closing laps. But it looks like Bolton's got this race in hand pretty much so far.
Yeah, as we will be coming up to 7 to go. Just got to see how much work and how much speed the 92 has to catch that 38.
It's 4 Fords out front of this race right now. Bolton, Finn Guy, Presto, and Sanders, with the Toyota of Ryan Caggiano rounding out the top 5. So Beal's actually cycled all the way back to 6th place, and Bobo Jones, who was the pole sitter, has fallen completely out of the top 10. So it'll be interesting. It's interesting to note how pit stops have shaken up the running order a little bit, but right now the gap between these two is 1.7 seconds, and Jeffrey Finn Guy has 7 laps to make that 0.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be the interesting part. First you got to catch him, and then you got to pass him, which is always the most troubling part of a road course, is being able to pass people.
Yes, and with Jeff Bolton now almost half a straightaway ahead of Jeffrey Finn Guy now, going through Hawthorne, it's going to be interesting to see if Jeffrey Finn Guy can catch him. Remember, Jordan Presto was able to do it very easily, but we've yet to see Jeffrey Finn Guy make a real push for the lead. So it'll be interesting to see. And if he catches him, will he have used up all his stuff trying to get by?
Yeah, wondering if it's actually the other way around, the 38 actually saving, so then when the 92 of Finn Guy does actually catch him, he actually has enough stuff to make it all the way and possibly be able to extend his lead after that, maybe tease the 92 as well.
Heading towards Clark now, with coming to 6 laps of racing to go. We'll see what the gap becomes as these guys cross the line. It's Bolton ahead of Finn Guy. The gap, 1.3, so he's closed the gap by 0.4 of a second. If he keeps that up, he'll get there.
Yeah, let's see how this all plays out. A lot of interesting things happened during this race, especially the pit stops, seeing how everybody else cycled out, and it's just been a great race overall.
It's been interesting with strategy in the mix, a lot of on-track passing as well. But right now, the question is, can Jeffrey Finn Guy win this race and steal it from Jeff Bolton the way Brandon Beal stole it from Josh Drake last time at Brooklands?
Yeah, I really like how these guys have been racing recently, especially coming to the end of the regular season, everything amping up as everybody is still fighting for either the spot in the championship hunt or trying to be in the top 30 points to be locked into the show every week.
Keep in mind, none of the top 10 in this race right now are actually in the playoffs right now. The closest one to that playoff spot is Jeffrey Finn Guy in second. He came into this race 16th in points, which he will gain a spot from Josh Drake missing the race. And he will probably gain more spots because Stephen Gale is not performing as well as we'd expect him to, nor is Jack Porkins. So Finn Guy should be able to gain probably 2, maybe even 3 spots, depending on where Porkins and Gale finish. But he's got to close in on that final playoff spot, which is currently being held by the 91 of Nick Ortiz.
Yeah, we just got to see how the 92, if he can make up the position and possibly win this race, how this will shake up the standings, especially going into about 4 more races left into the season.
Remember, the difference between first and second is 5 points, so if he can make this pass, it'll definitely be worth his while to get 5 extra points. And Jeff Bolton really needs a win to help him get into the top 30. A lot of different storylines to follow as we have 5 laps to go here at the British Grand Prix. And right now, Jeffrey Finn Guy is closing the gap heavily on Jeff Bolton. My question is, will it be enough?
Yeah, let's see how, as we see the 92 still catching the 38, it all depends on when he actually does get to his bumper and possibly still fight for this win.
With Finn Guy closing in and Bolton trying to conserve his stuff, I'm worried that Bolton might be trying to conserve a little too much as they head through Sheen's once more and headed towards Sterling's. I'm just not so sure if Bolton is saving too much. He needs to start pushing a little bit because here comes Finn Guy. He's closed that gap down to an insane level, and now coming to 4 laps to go, this is going to be very close.
For me, that's way too close for comfort. The 38's got to pick up the speed and possibly just be able to hold off the 92 if he ever does come to his bumper.
Because the gap's down to 0.6 of a second now with 4 laps to go. And remember, it only took Jordan Presto 5 laps to catch and pass Jeff Bolton. This is the 5th lap for Jeffrey Finguy. So will he be able to make the move on Jeff Bolton or not as they head through Druids once more? And Finguy's not quite close enough to make the move now, but headed down towards the Cooper Straight and headed towards Surtees. It could be time as they head towards Pilgrim's Drop. That could be where Finguy makes his move.
Yeah, I feel like he'll catch him within the next lap or two. Obviously, he has the speed to catch him, but does he have the speed to pass him is the real question.
And has Bolton been saving his stuff as they head towards Hawthorne? Because making the move on Bolton is going to be tough for Finguy. He's yet to make a serious pass for the lead all day long. However, with this move, it would put him in position to win his 2nd race of the season and put him in a very short list of drivers who've been able to do that. So Finguy very much wanting to score the win and very much wanting to get past Jeff Bolton as they head through Sterling's.
Yeah, the rest of these guys are all out of the picture unless something bad happens to these front two. Maybe a bunch of side-by-side racing slowing them up, or even actually wrecking out of this race. You haven't really seen too many collisions this race yet.
And remember, with the local yellow rule, there wouldn't be any overtaking allowed at the accident scene. So if Jordan Presto were to come upon a wrecked 38 and 92, he wouldn't be able to pass. He would obviously be able to pass them if they're wrecked, but he wouldn't. For example, Lane Sanders wouldn't be able to pass Presto, so that he'd have to save that battle for another day, as you can see them closing in a little bit more, as the gap is now down to 0.3 of a second, heading towards the Surtees corner, and Finguy is getting a move on.
Yeah, it all depends on how well he executes the rest of this race. So we have barely any racing left to do. We have about 2.5 laps left in this race. It's all going to come down to the wire.
And with that, Bolton leads the way towards Hawthorne. Don't look now, because Presto and Sanders are closing the gap a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough for them to be a factor in winning this race. It's going to be a battle between Jeffrey Finguy and Jeff Bolton here for this British Grand Prix victory. And heading through Dingledale right now, it's going to be very close between these guys as we come to 2 laps to go through Sheens and into Sterling's. It's going to be an interesting battle, because here's Finguy. This is the closest he's been all race long, coming to 2 laps to go.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what he does in this corner, possibly make a move. Doesn't look like he is. Maybe set up for the first corner. Maybe. And try to make something happen, as we have 2 to go left in this race.
And remember, Druids is a good passing zone too, and they're coming up on that pretty quick. So Finguy needs to be right on the bumper of Bolton going into Druids to make the move, and it looks like he's just too far back to make the move. He could have made a move there, but that would have been a little risky. But at this point in the race, you've got to take risks. You've got to take action, because unless you take action and take some risks, you're going to finish second to Jeff Bolton.
Yeah, that's very interesting. He's the only person that had a 3-stop strategy, and he was able to make it work. Everybody had 2 stops. For some reason, he was actually able to execute it, which is very good by that guy.
Slight correction, Bolton actually did make a 2-stop strategy work, but he pitted a little earlier on the first stop. That led to the assumption of him taking 3 stops. He did take 2, but one of them was just a little bit earlier. So 2-stop strategies prevailing throughout the rest of the field, except for Casey Bender in 42nd, who had to take a 3-stop because of his tire problem. But as they head through Dingledale towards Sheens, it appears that Jeff Bolton's got this race in hand, unless Jeffrey Finguy can make a move. Coming down to the wire, we're coming to the white flag this time by.
Yeah, this is getting very close. Great racing by everybody this whole entire race. As we have it down to the wire, nobody's really was a clear favorite, maybe in the early going, but ever since pit stops happened, it's all about the person who's up at the front.
And the white flag flies. Flagman's got it in hand. This is the final lap of the British Grand Prix, and right now Jeff Bolton's got a very handy lead. It's half a second over Jeffrey Finguy. That's far enough to where he can't make a move going into Druids. He's going to try and make a move into Druids for the final time, but I don't think it's going to be enough for Jeff Bolton to keep the lead going through Druids and headed towards the Graham Hill Bend for the final time.
Yeah, I think he has about 1 or 2 more passing zones left. Obviously, he has to close up the gap a little bit more before he can actually make that move.
And one of those passing opportunities is going into Hawthorne, and that's coming up at the end of the long Pilgrim's Drop. And as they go through, headed towards Pilgrim's Drop for the last time in this race, Jeffrey Finguy's giving it everything he's got to try and get past Jeff Bolton, but I'm not sure it's going to work. Headed towards Hawthorne, it's not going to quite work. Finguy stays behind.
Yeah, going into Derek Minter straight. This is going to get very interesting as we have a few more corners left in this race.
Through Westfield they go for the final time. Jeff Bolton's going to try and pull off a stunner here. Remember, he started this race very deep in the field, heading through Dingle Dell for the final time, going towards Sheens. I just don't think that Jeffrey Finguy is going to be able to catch him unless he makes a move going into Clark. They head through Sterling's for the last time. Unless he makes a move in Clark, I don't think it's going to work. They're headed down Clearway Straight for the final time, and it looks like he's going to... Oh, he's going to make a move going into Clark. He made a move going into Clark.
Oh, not enough.
It's not enough. Jeff Bolton off the final corner. Jeff Bolton wins the British Grand Prix by a nose ahead of Jeffrey Finguy. He gave it his all. He gave it 110% effort, but he'll have to settle for second. A great win by Jeff Bolton, the first of his career.
Yeah, great job by these two, racing it all the way to the end, making every single lap. Great job by everybody else in the field for keeping it clean.
Racing hard, but racing clean. That's what we like to see in the One-Up Retro Cup Series. Jordan Presto led a little bit of this race. He'll settle for third position ahead of Lane Sanders, who will take fourth place. And Ryan Caggiano in the Vegemite Toyota will round out the top 5. And how about Christian Vargas in his series debut? He finishes 6th in this race. Good run for the 08 car. The 12 finishes in 7th place ahead of Brandon Beal in 8th. He backs up his Brooklands win with another top 10. Caden Atkins will finish 9th. And keep the applause going because Ace in the 24, after 26 races, has finally notched himself a top 10 in the One-Up Retro Cup Series, coming home in 10th place. A good run from the 24, managing to hold off Jake McMillan on the final lap to finally get his first top 10 of his career.
The curse is broken for Ace. Great job on him for getting his first top 10 of the season.
And with that, the British Grand Prix of this year is over, but we've got plenty of great racing left to go. And as we leave the United Kingdom for this season, it's been a great 2 races here, and I'm sure we'll be coming back to Brooklands next season for another race there. Next time out, we're heading to South America for our only South American race of the season. We're headed to the Emerson Fittipaldi Speedway for the Rio 500. It's going to be a real fun race, and we hope to see you there as well. From Ben McDonnell and from myself as well, a big congratulations to Jeff Bolton, winner of the British Grand Prix.